The president's feeling based on fact.
These are lies.
That Iran does pose an imminent and direct threat to the United States of America.
The lies will continue.
No, I might have forced their hand.
Mostly to propagandize to their own people.
Hello and welcome to Kump. Got a lot going on today. Got big announcements coming up later in the show. But first, let's get into it with the ongoing situation in Iran. And we're getting to the bottom of why we're even there in the first place.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties.
Did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand.
These decisions are not made in a vacuum. They are made by the president's feeling that Iran was going to strike the United States and our assets in the region.
Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh.
If we didn't hit within 2 weeks, they would have had a nuclear weapon.
Well, that's... they tried to kill my daddy. Remember Bush when we went to Iraq? They tried to kill my daddy. The famous, it's... Look, there's nothing more primal than striking back at those who tried to strike you down. It's not really usually the basis of modern geopolitical conflict, but we were kind of devolving as a civilization to in the rhetorical. The great, the Senate used to be known as this great, the greatest debating body in the history of civil. Which was that ever really the case? Was the U.S. Senate really the greatest deliberative body? It doesn't seem that would be true. But perhaps there's a high water mark. But they tried to kill him.
No, I might have forced their hand.
These decisions are not made in a vacuum. They are made by the president's feeling that Iran was going to strike the United States and our assets in the region.
Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh.
I mean, the last laugh. Pete Hegseth is a bona fide thug. He's just like, we haven't had a guy like him in a long time in America. He's like a Tammany Hall figure. He's like a guy straight out of the streets who, a real head crusher, a real enforcer. I don't know if he knows anything about war. I'm sure there's generals around him. So maybe it's good that we have just a half-cocked kind of maniac just scaring the world into finding new allies. It seems like what you'd want. It seems like what you'd want as resources dwindle and our projected power starts to wane in the twilight of empire. To just start kicking dirt in the face of everyone who might help us, who we might need later on. Just don't put any. Look, there's nothing better when you have less, relatively small leverage than to act as if you're just, to just grab people by the scruff of the neck and shove their face in the piss. That's the kind of guy Hegseth. I mean, it's a very bold. He's a bold man.
No one's putting us in danger. We're putting the other guys in danger. That's our job. So we're not concerned about that. We mitigate it as we need to. Our commanders factor all of this, but the only ones that need to be worried right now are Iranians that think they're going to live.
I get it. I get the posture. I mean, this is just from 60 Minutes. I guess it's coming out today, the full interview. I get the bluster. Hey, maybe it wasn't his idea to go to war, but he's the kind of guy when you put him, he's going to do everything or nothing. And I get it. If you put me in charge of a war, if you give me the job of SecDef or I guess the Sec War. Now he's Secretary of War. And you say, hey, like, you have these principles. You don't think we should be bombing Iran, but we'll give you the job. And I'll go, how much does it pay? And I imagine it's like, I mean, now I think if it's less than 100K, I probably won't do it. But for a couple 100K, I'd like to get a house one day. So I'll put my qualms aside. And I would say, look, I'm all for the idea that the best defense is a good offense. I'm all for the idea that, look, you got a lot. There's a lot to be said for the ambiguity of weakness or not being, projecting strength, right? It invites problems. You could argue that some might say that, we gave Saddam Hussein mixed messages before he invaded Kuwait. We could call it that. You could also call it we hung him out to dry. That we engineered that shit. It's all about perspective, right? It's all about how you choose to view the world because nothing's real anymore. But regardless, I get where this guy. What I don't quite understand is what the fuck he's talking about. What?
No one's putting us in danger.
Right, fair. Okay, no one's gonna put us in danger. That's fair. I'm your daddy. I don't mind him. Like I don't need a daddy, but I don't mind him saying, "Hey, if I'm the Secretary of War, I'll be your daddy." Because a lot of people need the blanket. A lot of people need to know. It's not enough for most people to just be able to live in a chaotic world. They need to know, or at least believe, like Santa or Easter Bunny, that nothing will ever happen to Americans, right? But like that you can walk unmolested across the face of the earth because you're an American citizen, and that we will protect you, and no one will hurt you, and Daddy will kiss the boo-boo. People look. They have enough going on. They work shit jobs for no money. I'm not judging anyone. I'm just the fact that I'm jaded to the point of not needing Pete Hegseth to be my daddy hasn't made my life that fruitful. I'm not running a fucking mini marathon every day. All right, I'm not judging anyone. If you want a daddy, it's fine. That part of it is fine. I don't.
That's our job. So we're not concerned about that.
It's not my job to care about you. That's fine.
Mitigate it as we need to.
Yeah.
Our commanders factor all of this.
Sure.
The only ones that need to be worried right now are Iranians that think they're going to live.
I don't know. I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what that means. I mean, is he saying like the only who think they're going to live? I mean, this is the problem. I can get on board, but one more time.
Factor all of this. But the only ones that need to be worried right now are Iranians that think they're going to live.
The only thing, so it almost sounds like you're going to nuke them. Now, I don't think he's planning on doing that. I think if anything, he'd allow, it would probably be an Israeli nuke if anything. It'd probably be maybe a black market nuke. Maybe they try to blame it on Palestine or something, on Gaza, on the Gazans. They will. You trust me. If a nuke goes off, they'll blame it on Gaza. There'll be a guy dropping a nuke from a hang glider. You'll see it. There'll be cell phone footage. If a nuke goes, I pray to God that a nuclear bomb does not go off in Iran. This is not a threat to I'm not affiliated with the government, to the Iranian people, and I'm not saying it's because I don't want to get sued. I just don't want some Iranian kid. I understand it's a little arrogant of me to assume that in Iran they're translating me into Farsi to watch in Iran, but I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea. That being said, if it does happen, you're gonna see a guy in a hang glider flying away. Which is that possible? I don't know. It'll be photoshopped or whatever. They'll be AI'd. I'm not saying I don't know if you could fly a hang glider in the in the proximate blast of a nuclear mushroom cloud.
Factor all of this, but the only ones that need to be worried right now are Iranians that think they're going to live. It's just
Iranians who think they're going to live. It's just such an ominous but also clumsy line. You know what I mean? It's like Nicholson in The Departed, like fumbling with the gun. But that was like menacing because like this is more like if he shot himself, or like maybe, or you know, or the bullets fell out into his mouth and he started chewing bullets by mistake. All the people have to worry are Iranians who think they're going to live. I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Civilians or like, I mean, there's a lot of music revolutionary. I don't know. I'm not even judging him. Or you for loving, wanting that. Whatever. This is the newest attack. Well, this is, I think, yesterday. They're doing a lot of damage. I mean, it doesn't seem like he's not trying to kill everybody over time. This is bad. The skies are on fire. Another one. This is like Terminator. This is Terminator shit. I guess there's oil running into the streets and then causing. This is like a Hollywood movie in the way that, like, everything's on fire. I mean, it's not a Hollywood movie because people are literally dying. But it's like it's literally like the end of the world over there. It's got the regime's.
The night skies over Tehran turning orange as Iranians experience some of the heaviest bombardment of this war. State media saying that the strikes hit a gas depot and an oil refinery. This after a warning by President Trump that Iran today would be hit hard. Earlier, it was Iran's busiest airport.
I mean, I just want to say something. We're going to say, but like this idea that like some people are acting as if like we're losing the war. I don't think it's probably going as well as was planned. I think they wanted to get Pahlavi in there. This Reza Pahlavi's son, is his name also Reza, right? It goes back to there was a guy before the Shah that we know, his dad, and then the Shah. Basically there was like Raza Khan or something, I think his name was, back in the day. And then there was, and then his son took over, I guess, for a minute, a little bit. And I don't know if he abdicated. I should have prepared this note, but I read a book years ago. The point is, they had elections and then Mossadegh, and then we overthrew, and we shoved the Shah back in when we overthrew Mossadegh because he nationalized the oil fields. I've discussed this a lot lately, probably. And so the Shah famously left Iran after the revolution. They got very mad at us because we let him in to America to get lung cancer treatment or something. I mean, they're probably also mad that we overthrew their government and propped him up. That's the thing about this Iran thing. I don't think they're saints. I don't think they're great guys. I don't know, this idea to do proxy warfare. It seems like a very damning accusation, except that all we do is goddamn proxy warfare. I mean, I'm not trying to be a what about it. It's like, yes, they do proxy war. If you were invading Mexico, you get very mad about the Iraq stuff. Yeah, I don't know. If you invaded Mexico, I feel like we would get involved, even if behind the scenes a little bit. Now, again, this is not to say that we shouldn't fight them. If in that case, we should have fought that back then. About that, did they do some terrorism, quote unquote? And I say quote unquote because all these terrorists that we keep talking about, we keep creating, literally. All right, Al Qaeda was famously, you can talk all the complicated. Well, Al Qaeda at the time of the Mujahideen, who we were completely funding and training, were more just facilitators back then. Bin Laden wasn't one of our guys. All right, you really want to get into that level? I mean, that's the level of like dystopian bureaucracy debate we can have. The reality is we create a lot of terrorists. It doesn't mean that, I never said, for instance, on October 7th, that Israel shouldn't respond. Is there a dialectic, is that the right word, going on throughout history with these two nations or whatever? Of course. Do I have a complicated view? I never said, it never occurred to me that, they should not respond, right? That being said, but it's about proportionality and like scale, and also just not being lunatics about it, and also hypocrisy. You can be a hypocrite to a point. To a point. So my point is like, it's not like nothing should happen. Oh, Iran. If they do something, hit them back. But stop trying to friggin', you're not my daddy. Stop trying to tell them that Iran is going to kidnap me and molest me. All right? I am not afraid of Iran in a way, in this way of like, look, they're going to, there's always a boogeyman. Doesn't mean they haven't killed Americans. Don't get me wrong. We kill a lot of people. But if you allow a boogeyman into your life, and in this case, like a national boogeyman, what do you think they need that for? What do you think? Everyone was talking about 1984. What do you think the point of Emmanuel Goldstein was? He was a boogeyman. He was a guy. We hate this guy. Get him. And then Emmanuel Goldstein is the terrorist. He's the Bin Laden of 1984. I don't think he even existed. I haven't read it in years, but I don't think he existed at all. It was a figment. But you get people frothed up and they'll let you do anything. Now, in this case, yes, like the proximate thing is we're blowing up Iran. But we're not talking about Epstein. That's nice for certain people. I don't like it. And you guys want to talk about? We still talk about Epstein? Yeah, I don't know. Nothing's actually been. No one's ever been. Even if no one's been brought to justice, but also like nothing's really even been investigated. Files have been deleted. You're bringing in, the Clinton. I mean, look, the Clintons. We'll get to that probably in the Patreon this week. Coming up, I'll talk about. I'll go through. We're too much to talk about. But the point is, there's a lot going on in Iran. Let's just 1 second. This is. Where's the one? Oh, here we go. I'm looking at the wrong button.
The regime's military fighting back hard, firing missiles and launching drones at least 11 countries.
Just to finish the point, the reason you have a boogeyman, the reason you have one, is so they can put, it's, when they pick your pocket, a pickpocket in the streets, they do the bump. They bump into you and they take your wallet out, right? That's how it works. Iran right now is the bump. All right, you have AI not is going to be used to justify just taking away your job, whether it actually does or not. The economy is tanking for a number of reasons. And look, I don't want to make it seem like I'm ignoring the idea that a lot of people in our government seem to be very heavily influenced by another government, and we're doing this on the behest of. Let's just go back, because I really dwell on this.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties.
Just to be clear, what he's saying is Israel was going to attack and drag us into a war. And not like, well, they were going to do what they were going to do. They know what they're doing. And we allowed it to happen, even though we could totally check Israel if we wanted to. It's kind of hard when the president seems to be compromised by something. Maybe just a love of Israel, I guess. Maybe he just really, really wants. Maybe he just really likes the Torah. I mean, someone should get him a nice Torah, and maybe he, let him read Has he read the Bible? Is he that into it? I know it's not only whatever. I'm just saying it's like that's probably. What else could it be besides a fascination with the Torah that has him so? I wonder. I'm laying on thick. I know. So let's get back to the other clip.
The regime's military fighting back hard, firing missiles and launching drones at least 11 countries.
So Iran is going through, and look, we have a lot of bases around the Middle East. I don't think that everything they did was attacking they attacked some of our bases. And look, I don't want our troops to get hurt. That's half the thing. Why are we letting our troops die for nothing? oh, they were 2 weeks away from a nuclear. I don't believe that. Just flat out. And it's kind of laughable to believe that. They just did, look, they did nothing to justify this war. They really, it's insane. If you're old enough to remember Iraq, they spent a year like pivoting, and it was still crazy as hell. No one bought it except for like, I don't know, like, whatever the boomers were back then. I guess there was like, the greatest generation, was it the greatest generation types? Were they still around? The in-between, the lost generation, whatever. Some people were like, got. But I don't think most people, a lot of people, the cynical, like, Republicans or neoconservatives barely seem to even think the weapons were there. It was really about, force projection bases. People would make these arguments like it's something we can attack. Afghanistan doesn't really have much to destroy. Like people like to pretend they're being clever for a while sometimes. When you have a war for a while, they like to get clever with their rhetoric. Well, they like to bluster and posture until the videos of the kids dead start coming back, which I guess is, they didn't have cell phones for the Iraq war as much. It's some, but it wasn't the iPhone era yet. But there's a lot of smaller cameras. The mini DV cameras are around. There was there's probably more of that coming through than used to be. Vietnam was the first one of those. And so it's really easy to act like an egghead and talk about, projected force and all this shit. And at the end of the day, those guys are just lackeys anyway, because the real thing is money. People go, we $2 trillion was lost. Rumsfeld came out the day before 9/11. And it's like, hey, there's like $2 trillion missing we can't account for. It's kind of weird. And a lot of people know about that, right? They know about that. And apparently, like, the investigation that would have took place about that was hurt by the idea that, like, all those documents, I guess, were in the Pentagon in the area where they got hit, I believe is the idea. Which is, fair. Like, because why would Rumsfeld come out? Oh, okay, I guess. It's a little loop-de-loop. Was that the right way? A rope-a-dope. And then he's on the Pentagon lawn, yes, trying to help people. Which, look, if I'm, either way, it's good. Even if he was in on it. It's still nice. I mean, it's better than not helping. I feel like the people we have now, if they did 9/11, like if the Trump administration did 9/11, I don't think look. I'm not saying Hegseth's never done a nice thing. I don't think he'd be on the White House lawn or the Pentagon lawn helping people from the cruise missile attack that just attacked the Pentagon or plane. I feel like he would go straight to the PIOC and go, I'm needed elsewhere. Which is strategically true, probably. But Donald Rumsfeld, for all his faults, had a little bit of a heart.
Among them, Israel and Kuwait, where an Iranian weapon tore through a U.S. operations center, killing 6 American troops.
So that's rough. And look, Iran's going to retaliate. A lot of carnage, people getting mad at them and whatever. I mean, like, once wars start, you can't just, I don't expect everyone to just go, well, you start at a certain point. The problem with war is that people forget how they get started. No one even remembers how, we famously do remember World War I. But I mean, at the time, how many guys in a trench were thinking of, Archduke Ferdinand? World War I sucked. This is interesting, though.
The regime's military fighting back hard, firing missiles and launching drones at least 11 countries, among them Israel and Kuwait, where an Iranian weapon tore through a U.S. operations center, killing 6 American troops.
Wait, I got the wrong one there. Hold on. Just give me 1 second there, because this is actually, this matters. Videos. The best laid plans of Rays get stuck in the. Oh, here we go.
But over 500 people have been killed, according to the Red Crescent. including at a girls' elementary school, where Iranian state media claimed more than 100 children were killed. Iran lashing out across the Middle East. Several U.S. military facilities in the region have already been hit, including in Kuwait, where 6 U.S. service members were killed over the weekend. Today, President Trump honored them.
In their memory, we continue this mission with ferocious, unyielding resolve to crush the threat this terrorist regime poses to the American people.
Anyway, look, rest in peace to the soldiers. There's nothing, just sad. Sorry for their families,
People.
Iran also indiscriminately targeting civilian sites.
Oh my God.
A hotel in Dubai.
Well, that's interesting.
This apartment building in Bahrain. And in Israel, a direct hit near Jerusalem. This neighborhood leveled.
Okay, look, and I am not, look, that's also that is very sad.
It pulverized the concrete into something like this, but among the effects, you can see combs, Pokemon cards.
You can see Pokemon cards. And it's a little baby picture of a baby, and that's sad. Don't think I'm going somewhere where I say it's good to the baby. That's not what this is. But
dozens were wounded and 9 were killed in the attack, including a mother and her son buried together today.
I see the mother and the baby on the floor. She's doing like this, and the little boy, a lot of blood in his face. He's 4 years old.
Yes, it's hard. I'm not saying this is horrible. This is a horrible side of war. I mean, you should show this, right? You should show that. You should show the human effect of war. It's just, but the reason that clip, that's a single clip. It wasn't cut by me. It goes to there. It starts out. Let's just go to the beginning of it.
But over 500 people have been killed, according to the Red Crescent, including at a girls' elementary school, where Iranian state media claimed more than 100 children were killed.
Now, is it not clear that the best sources seem to say we did this? Some people are saying Israel did it. I think they were trying to say, well, Iran did. No, I think that was coming at that we bombed the school, right? We bombed the school, as far as I know. I mean, we can put a pin in. No, I'm not putting. I mean, whatever. I'm not. No, I think that's the. I saw a lot of sources saying we bombed the school coming out. And this is not like a 6-day-old clip, right?
Iran lashing out across the Middle East. Several U.S. military facilities in the region have already been hit, including in Kuwait, where 6 U.S. service members were killed over the weekend. Today, President Trump honored them.
In their memory, threat
civilian sites
this terrorist regime poses to the American people.
Iran also indiscriminately targeting civilian sites.
I mean, look. So when they do, that's what I'm getting at. Now, Noam Chomsky has been tainted by his connection to Jeffrey Epstein, and by connection, I mean he seemed to try to help him get away with being a pedophile. Let's not soft sell it. I mentioned this, a couple weeks ago when I first heard about the Epstein situation with Chomsky. I'm like, well, he probably just was flattering the guy and, flattering, I really love your linguistics and what do you think about, what's the big thing in manufacturing consent? East Timor. I want to talk about the East Timor massacre. Oh, that was very interesting. Well, again, I've never been that. I mean, Chomsky, but one thing he was very good at was pointing out in media stuff. It's not, a lot of propaganda seems to be about just a difference in proportion of coverage, right? You're showing the school attack, right? No one's saying it didn't. Now they're not, but are they downplaying? Hold on one second. Are they downplaying it? It's arguable. Let's go back to the school thing real quick.
Into the Red Crescent, including at a girls' elementary school, where Iranian state media claimed more than 100 children were killed.
Yeah, Iranian state media claim. Now, is that fair? Look, is that not lost on me? This is CBS, by the way. I would never question Barry Weiss's journalistic skill, integrity, all of it. It's just best. CBS only hires the best. That's my understanding. That being said, it does, so maybe you're supposed to just, look, they are a terrorist state. they're a rogue state. Those are technical terms, right? Like, we just bandy these things about. I'm being a little coy here, and I'm not like I should stop beating around the bush. There's a lot of we look. Why are they a terrorist state? Because they promote terror. Well, we promote terrorism. Why are they a rogue state? Because they go against they don't wait for the UN. We don't do any of that. We do what we want. This is what's more rogue than this. Why? Because Israel's also doing it. We're not rogue anymore. The whole world is condemning this, but we're not rogue. Like, when Bush came out, what was that speech? Was it the State of the Union after 9/11, or was it? I feel like it was October, but either way, it was a speech he gave a couple months after 9/11. The Axis of Evil speech. I think it was the State of the Union, the first one after 9/11. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments if I'm an idiot. Whatever. Tell me what you want. But the point is, you got Afghanistan. That's where Bin Laden was, right? This is the Bin Laden guy we're going after. Then he starts bringing up Iraq. Well, we did fight Iraq. All right. This is weird. Why are you bringing up? I mean, at that point, it wasn't totally clear how there was just no connection, right? At all. Like, you wouldn't think there'd be a connect. Like, I mean, that's the thing. I'm not like an expert in the Middle East. I feel like I was just a little, I'm not going to say more savvy, but I feel like there's a large amount of people who just like don't have any idea. Like, I knew enough when I was, when I was college aged. I knew enough at that point to know, well, I'm not sure about the culture of Afghanistan, but I know it ain't Iraq. I know these people also hate each other, right? So I don't know what people think. That people go like, oh, like, in reality, yes, there was like, of course, we all know that. I'm not going to get into the Sunni, the Shia, this. Also, like the geopolitics of like how Bin Laden was actually very pissed that that Saudi Arabia didn't allow him to have to raise a Muslim army against Saddam. He supposedly. It's hard to get. There's all these details, and then there's all this evidence that like he's probably just our guy. And like, I'm humble enough. Like, some people just ignore the inherent contradiction of conspiracy shit. It's murky. When you're dealing with parcels of information, like, maybe he was half real. The Shah like talks shit about us, and he was mad about Bretton Woods. I remember the Bretton Woods system, the financial system. I'm getting mired in the weeds here a little bit, but I remember reading some op-ed that I randomly found where he's like, you talk about all the money going to OPEC, but we give it all back to you in petrochemicals. We have to buy petrochemicals from you. So you get all the money back. That's the thing. Oh, the money. They used to talk about in the 70s how the money's all going to OPEC, and we're losing all the money. And they're like, what? We all that money goes back. I don't know if it's all the money. Again, this is the nature of debate. People always, people are arguing in their own interest. So I don't know for sure. But our guy, the Shah, was in the New York Times op-ed going, you fucking scumbags, we were buying petrochemicals from Dow Chemical. I mean, is he talking about plastics or just weird? I don't know what he was talking about. Was it like, house cleaner? I don't know what he was talking about. Stuff to make rubber. He seems to be really hung up on petrochemicals. I wonder if his son, who wants to take over Iran now, is also that interested in petrochemicals.
Iran lashing out across the Middle East.
The point is, there seems to be a large, so we have this.
More than 100 children were killed.
Very quick, matter of fact, thing with the school. And it's not, this is the way propaganda is. It's not saying, they're not going, and we're glad, the school didn't exist. They spend like 5 seconds or 4 seconds. They say claimed, right?
And in Israel, a direct apartment building. Oh my God. Civilian sites.
Can people?
Iran also indiscriminately targeting civilians.
Indiscriminately. I mean, like, do we know? Are we talking to the targeting guys? I mean, we're just taking their word for it. They're just not like, I just don't know. I mean, indiscriminately attacking civilian sites. As opposed to the school, which we did on purpose? Is that what you're implying? Like,
a hotel in Dubai. This apartment building in Bahrain.
I mean, Israelis are always talking about how they have to bomb things because there's things under it. What's under the hospital? Hey, what's under the school? You don't know. I'm telling you, there's a lot of bad stuff under this school. They had to blow it up. but the Iranians are being indiscriminate. See, a subtle, not so subtle distortion. Again, I'm not on Team Iran. It does seem, it's more about team don't just indiscriminately kill people in the name of my country. I guess. I mean, does it matter anymore? Like this idea that we're a democracy, it's very funny. Or no, we're a constitution, we're a limited republic. I get it.
Israel, a direct hit near Jerusalem. This neighborhood leveled.
It pulverized the concrete into something like this, but
I mean, just the human, they have a correspondent there. Is it more dangerous to be in Iran? Sure, because they wouldn't. I don't know the logistics of it, that per se.
Among the effects,
I know supposedly Israel hasn't wanted people showing attacks in Tel Aviv, right? They haven't wanted that. They've actually been like trying, very much as like they've been restrictions and supposedly like there's fines and jail time if you show for strategic reasons or whatever. But we'll show that. We're showing it. Okay.
You can see Combs, Pokemon.
Again, not downplaying the victims here, or this is good or anything. That's not at all what this is. The idea is that but it's just we're human. It's the selective humanization. Is the point.
The cards and family pictures.
Yeah, there was no pictures in the school of 100 dead girls. All right, teachers. I imagine there's no pictures there. Okay. There's no pictures there. You looked?
Dozens were wounded and 9 were killed in
just the amount of time they're spending.
Including a mother and her son buried together today.
No, it's very sad. It's very sad. I mean, and it's not about whataboutism. It's just one, it's about why, but it is kind of that in the sense of like, hey, news, what about that? This is bad. Also, what about that? Like, is that also bad? Like, you say they claimed.
You see the mother and the baby on the floor. She's doing like this, and the little boy, a lot of blood in his face.
Just to be clear, so this is what happens when you buy the media. It's not so much that you it's just selective. It's strategic. Doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean that you just, well, today, Iran nuked this. And so we had I guess there's a point where we used to do more. I mean, look, honestly, if you go through like the newspapers of like the 50s or whatever, these coups and stuff we did, and we used to get away with a lot more. People in this position used to get away with a lot more. It used to be an easier job to propagandize a culture. Now it's more about, it's about trying to move the goalposts of humanize, are these people, because I thought it was all about them having nukes. What did we do? What did we do last year with this bunker buster? I mean, you guys claimed it was such a great hit. You didn't make the case. I mean, you kind of didn't really make the case of why it didn't work. They don't really, they're not selling war anymore. They don't want that. They're kind of easing away from, we're going to show you every detail. We're going to show you, there was no Colin Powell this time going to the UN with, talking about the mobile labs and the sarin gas, or what was it, the yellow cake uranium and all that. Colin Powell putting his honor on the line. I mean, I'd like to, there's a lot of talk back then about how what they did to him was terrible. I mean, I bet he knew a little bit. Can we find that real quick? Let's see if we can find that real quick. Colin Powell, UN, WMD. Let's see if that comes up.
I cannot tell you everything that we know, but what I can share with you, when combined with what all of us have learned over the years, is deeply troubling. What you will see is an accumulation of facts and disturbing patterns of behavior. The facts in Iraqis' behavior Iraq's behavior demonstrate that Saddam Hussein and his regime have made no effort to disarm as required by the international community. Indeed, the facts and Iraq's behavior show that Saddam Hussein and his regime are concealing their efforts to produce more weapons of mass.
This went on for a while. I remember listening on the radio. I was going to Queens because my mechanic was in Queens back then. Well, it doesn't matter. They don't do. There was none of this. This went on forever. I mean, it's the Russian Federation. I mean, this is going on.
None of this should come as a surprise to any of us. Terrorism has been a tool used by Saddam for decades. Saddam was.
I mean, he was a terrible guy. I mean, he was a brutal guy. I mean, he was like his. Like, he had, I forget. I mean, I know his sons would go to like. Remember Prima Nocta and Braveheart, where they would like go grab a bride on their wedding day and rape her. I'm pretty sure like he did that, or like his sons did, and I don't know where they learn it. I mean, they torture people. I mean, before we did our little, our bit at Abu Ghraib. It wasn't a Holiday Inn before we got there.
Support of terrorism long before these terrorist networks had a name.
I mean, the terrorism thing. I'm not going to die in the hill that he never, backed any terror. But it doesn't seem like it was, dictators. They can, it's the same way we are, in a large ways are somewhat imperial, and we have proxy terrorism. But I mean, a guy like Saddam, the last thing he wants is a bunch. I mean, I think he wasn't all about just having a bunch of wild terrorists running the streets, getting ideas, thinking for themselves. I think a guy like Saddam leaned into a paramilitary or just military structure, right? It was that kind of regime. Not all regimes are based on chaos. I feel like Saddam was like, hey, if I lose control here, I don't really have the love of the people. So maybe I won't spread the wealth of weapons and WMDs. The last thing I want is a bunch of guys with sarin gas throwing it at me.
And this support continues. The nexus of poisons and terror is new. The nexus of Iraq and terror is old.
So the overall point here is that this was all horseshit, but they still did it. It was nice. It was still a nice thing to do. Before I get any further, because I don't want to forget, I said I would make an announcement. So this is not about the Iran war. We can get back into all that. There's a lot of stuff we won't get to everything today. I got, whatever. This has been a good episode. But the point is, elephant in the room. I'm not the elephant. Whatever. The point is, we all know, people have been asking, where's Lucy? And I'm very glad that people, are asking. Nothing has gone wrong. Lucy and I are still happily married, but this will be, for the time being, and for going forward, a solo show, which it has been for a few weeks on here and on Patreon. Lucy's got a new job recently, and she's limited time. She also has some other creative endeavors she would like to pursue. And so we're moving. The show is evolving. Going forward, I will start trying to looking at having guests more, maybe over Skype or even maybe depending on the configuration in person too, whatever in the studio. It's kind of different in here now because whatever. You can maybe tell by the camera angle. But the point is, I'm very glad that people are some people getting mad. Where is she? It's I didn't want to lead with it. Well, let's do a couple episodes and then we'll talk. Just people. Whatever. I think they've been good. I think these have been good episodes. I love having Lucy on the show. She will come back from time to time on the Patreon. So I've told her people in the comments are looking for her, and she's very appreciative. So thank you for whatever, and thanks for supporting the show through a transition. I think it's getting better. I think it's getting tighter. I think it's going to get even tighter. It sounds weird, but the point is, and it is what it is. It wasn't so this is not because it's literally just people. Things happen. But we're still, people have acted like, she left me, I've eaten her, whatever. None of that's true. perhaps I'll have her film a video at some point to share. Maybe she can read a prepared mess. I'm kidding. I'm leading into the bit a little bit, but thank you for inquiring. And sorry if it seemed like I was, whatever. We're moving on. I ramble. Everything I do, I ramble. We love Lucy. Iran school. Why isn't this working?
Combination is lethal. With this,
hold on. I know what happened. See, I have to. I'm working on these systems, right? Like having the videos available to react to and stuff. It's like it's all evolving, and I've made this like a pretty interesting. And maybe I'll want to make a video one day and can show you my behind the scenes, the Stream Deck I have with the button configuration. And I do some cool stuff, and it's getting tighter. Stop saying tighter. But the point is, I need to make a button for on-the-fly searches. Or maybe this button's just not working. We'll skip to something else. Here's Lindsey Graham.
And we're going to win. Israel and the United States, you just wait to see what comes in the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks meaning what?
We're going to blow the hell out of these people. This regime is in a death row now. It is going to be on its knees. It's going to fall. And when it falls, we're going to have peace like no other time. We're going to have prosperity unlike anyone could ever imagine. Peace brings prosperity. You can't do it by talking. The Democrats criticize this operation. We're going to throw now. And we're going to win. Israel and the United States, you just wait to see what comes in the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks meaning what?
We're going to blow the hell out of these people.
I mean, well, I assume he means blows them away, but that's not the point of it just occurred to me, whatever. Low hanging fruit. But but what is this for? What did we try? Like, I mean, I saw Meghan McCain share one of these because there's a few of these out there. Lindsey Graham is a maniac, and we allow him to just to go back and forth to Israel. At one point, he was saying I got word from Netanyahu. Like, what is his role? Why are we allowing? I mean, why are we allowing this? Because we there's nothing like who would not allow it. We're living in an unchecked kind of time. To be fair, or whatever, it's not. This is they don't care what you think. Is my point. They don't want to make the case to you. They don't want to. We're gonna blow these people away. Are they gonna nuke them again? They want that out there because they're not really. Again, I don't want to. Some people are out there. I think I started this point before and didn't finish it. Some people are out there going like, well, the war is actually going really poorly, and like. Yeah, right. I think what they wanted to do, in the sense that like what might have gone better, for instance, is that they assumed for some reason, I guess. I mean, I hope they had some reason to assume this, that they would basically start bombing, and then these people would like overthrow the mullahs or whatever you call them, these the ayatollahs, the government of Iran, the people would rise up because they were going. I mean, is Trump not? It's just maybe Trump's not like when I see that all of a sudden in the same year, and this is before obviously the past couple of weeks, but yeah, we it was this campaign last year to build up and then bomb Iran the first time, not the first, in June. All of a sudden the students are uprising, and then he's killing the students. And like, maybe are they brutal? Did they kill a bunch of students? It's very. I'm not saying that absolutely didn't happen. I'm not even saying it probably didn't happen. I don't know. I take some of this stuff is like, look, I will say that some people you could do well to maybe put some salt on it. That's not the expression. A grain of salt. Put some salt on that pita bread. You don't have to go half-cocked into everything, but just things can just give you pause, and you go, all of this. Oh, this is interesting timing, and all of a sudden, these people, The people who don't question this seem to think that every single protest is George Soros in America. And maybe some of them are. I've heard, first when I first started hearing that, I was like, what? And then you start hearing more. Some of the details, I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard like a, per se, a well put together, I haven't seen a September 11th, the new Pearl Harbor level documentary about that. But I'm open-minded. I do think there's, a lot of forces at work and manipulating things and whatever. Point is, be trying to stay a little grounded, right? So when you hear about these protests, they're brutally killing these protesters, it's like, are these all organic? Are these organic? Are these not juked up? I mean, because we are. I mean, here's the thing. You go, why were they? Well, we are using it as a sort of excuse for this, right? Not really. Like, they're not really selling. That's the thing. And a generation ago, they would have said, well, they're killing the protest. I mean, that's why we're going in. And I saw some guy today, the comedy seller guy, Norm, whatever. No, he was like, people forget the reason. He was tweeting it on X. He was like, people forget that they were mad because we went to Iraq because they didn't have WMDs. That's why they were mad. But Iran does have them. And it's like, what? First of all, no one was like, people weren't actually like that concerned. There was like, they had to spend a year. I showed you. They had to go all this effort to convince us about this WMD shit. It was a hard sell, right? Like, it was literally, I think most people were in the position of like, well, they wouldn't just be doing this for no reason, right? Like, who would do this? And so when they didn't find them, I'll be honest with you, I've been saying this for years. I was saying at the time, like after I don't know, the first week or 2 weeks or something, we're like, where's these weapons? Because I mean, they made it seem like it's just they just have these fucking labs and they have this just stocked full. I mean, Hans Blix was going back and forth to Iraq, right? He seemed to be aware of weapons. Where were they? So when he didn't find them over time, I remember saying, like, back then, like, if they don't find them, they better plant them. Because, I mean, this is fucking crazy. And they didn't plant them. And very few people seem to care. Is why I'm calling bullshit in this gnome guy. Totally full of shit. No one cared about it. Very few people even gave a shit that we didn't have WMDs. I'm not saying they were thrilled about it. But there wasn't this, like, big outrage. It wasn't this big, like, what the fuck? It was kind of like, generally speaking, if you say, well, I would care. Well, I care too. Me and you cared. But many people didn't, or it didn't catch wind. They cared when, soldiers kept coming home dead, blowing up in IEDs, and the country turned into chaos. And people go, why are we here? Why the fuck are we here? Right? So I'm saying is like, this idea, and it leads into this, the idea that we have that they're just,
we're going to blow the hell out of these people. This regime is in a death row.
The idea that they didn't use these students in a more direct way is telling. Because, I guess they realized that people didn't, at the end of the day, care that much about the the lies. There's probably a term for it. Like a step ladder, a pyramid. It's kind of like how when you pass the Patriot Act, the next administration doesn't revoke the Patriot Act. Very few things that are bad that an administration does, no matter how much better you think that Obama was than Bush, or that Biden was than. I mean, as far as like the war crime, like the war stuff. They'll change, executive order, but I mean, but they very rarely give up war powers. Is my point. They very rarely give up authority to arrest you, to spy on you, to surveil you, to steal your eggs out of your uterus while you sleep. Whatever they do, they probably can do. They can probably see. They can probably call you everyone can be a terrorist. I guarantee anyone can. The whole point of the law is that anyone can be charged with 15 crimes at once, any given time. Any DA worth of salt, any DA can indict a ham sandwich. They know it is. The law is meant to be applied unevenly. That's the whole point. That's why you have 6 trillion laws. It's not there to protect you. It's there to be a malaise, a soup. So my point is, the fact they didn't sell this with the students, it's kind of telling. And then you have this maniac out here.
Now it is going to be on its knees. Now it is going to be on its knees. It's going to fall. And when it falls, we're going to have peace like no other time. We're going to have prosperity unlike anyone could ever imagine. Peace brings prosperity. You can't do it by talking. The Democrats criticize this operation. They didn't do a damn thing. These men and women in the military should make us all proud.
I'm not defending the Democrats or Joe Biden, and except that, I do think it's fair to go, well, they didn't bomb Iran. They didn't. Yeah, you're right. They didn't bomb Iran. I hate the person gotcha. I do think that, in this case, these people, I suppose you think Kamala will be better. It's a strange thing to say in response to, the president seems to be covering up, and his whole administration covering up sex trafficking and of children, right? You can disagree to the extent if you want, but that's what's on the table, is fighting on, it's hard to imagine you could really call it a necessary war. You could say it's a war that you want to fight. It doesn't really, they didn't bother to sell the ticking clock if there really was one. What else are they doing? He's talking, there's more, whatever. The point is, to be succinct about it, it's kind of it's a strange omen to be, well, you think Kamala, maybe not, maybe Kamala would have bombed Finland. You could be right. We'll never know. But that really isn't, that's not what a good president does. And that's an understatement. It's very faux pas to be well, but you have no idea how bad. You didn't see fucking Reagan going, yeah, I know I ran Contra. It was a faux pas, but imagine what Mondale would have been like. It's just not something it was Mondale. I got that right? I think so. Was he fighting Bush? Bush won. This is an interesting one.
Witness the supreme power of the United States. We're the most powerful military country in the world. Again, I rebuilt it I spent so much time rebuilding it, over $1 trillion, and now we just had another budget. We may be going to $1.5 trillion. We're building a thing called a battleship, like in the old days, remember? We have a secretary.
It's a good point. It does seem like, look, we haven't, the war has not gone as well as people would have hoped. I don't think we're going to, I keep losing this thread. I think we could probably beat Iran. We could beat Iran. It is much more complicated the straits, with the geography. Is it, the scale of actually invading Iran would be if we're gonna do it, maybe I should have led with that. Maybe we'll do a second episode. I don't know. Join the Patreon, whatever. I'm not gonna join the Patreon. I don't mean like that. But we'll talk about this more on the Patreon this week. Join the Patreon. But the geography of Iran, the natural. Alexander the Great was able to do it, but he did things smartly. He didn't, which does not really seem to be what's going on here. So, and even that, whatever. I can't get into it all right now. The point is, some people, it's we're losing, no, I don't think that. I don't think Iran's going to beat us in a war. But it does hurt your projected power when you're supposed to be the clear number one still. I know Iran has a lot of missiles relative to its military power. It's power ranking, if you want to call it that. I guess a lot of them are they're like ICBMs, but not nuclear. I was looking at this recently. It's more cruise missiles are more local, right? I think they have do they? I don't know if they have ICBMs per se. Could they actually hit America with these missiles? I know they're not doing it. I don't know if they could. I know that nuclear. Usually associate these things with nuclear missiles. Probably because like it probably wouldn't make a ton of sense, at least in the old days, to like fire these things. You know, an ICBM is a lot of fuel. I mean, if unless you're doing a ton of damage, it may not be worthwhile to like put those resources into whatever to do it that way. But yeah, you would think like, but he's saying here $1.5 trillion maybe. We got $1 trillion budget, $1.5 trillion. That's what we spend in the military. We spend like about $1 trillion a year in the military. I don't know that he actually gets to rebuild. I mean, Obama might have cut it a bit. But I mean, like, again, in the comments, tell me how wrong I am if I'm wrong. I don't think if Obama cut it, I think he did slightly cut it maybe, or cut, like, projected. I'm not even sure if his budget cuts even took effect. To the extent it was scaled down. But, like, this is not like, oh, we were in danger, we're in so much danger, whatever. We are the danger. Let's be clear about that. I mean, everyone should want a nuke. Everyone should want a nuke. This is like the first evidence of everyone wants nukes. Should have been Iraq. And now here's like the big number 2.
If the Navy.
I guess Hiroshima would have been number 1, right? And then Nagasaki, but you get my point.
And he suggested, I've always said, why don't we have battleships anymore, shooting big bullets instead of, $3 million rockets? And they said, well, sir, we just don't have them. Nobody.
What? Like, he may be right. I don't know. I don't know enough about. I'm not going to pretend to know the legit. I mean, he sounds crazy in this moment, and there's precedent for him sounding crazy. Maybe it makes sense.
You could give me the answer, but we're actually building 10 of them.
10 barrels.
I said, you remember the old ones from, you see Victory at Sea, remember Victory at Sea? And you'd see these ships going through those waves like the waves were nothing, although the waves are pretty powerful. They knock out a lot of territory, but you'd see these incredible, they're pieces of art.
I mean, I'd like to look into this. What is the point of a battleship in back then and now? Was it to fight other boats? Was it to seize a port? Probably to seize like a port, right? With the prevalence of long-range air power and our dominance in the air, I imagine it's like we tend to just bomb what we need to like attack first. But I don't know. Like I don't know if it's just missiles. Maybe the cruise missiles. I guess. I mean, it seemed to work in Iraq pretty well. The shock and awe of it. That's literally they call it. It was right shock. There was no shame. That's the thing. Back then, it seemed garish to call it shock and awe, but they still did. I'm not saying these guys were like they weren't exactly couth. They were a bit uncouth back then. This is just bizarre.
Beautiful, most beautiful. The big battleships of the 1940s, right? Power. I said, well, would we ever want to bring them back? Because we have some of them. They're museums and other things. And they said, sir, the new ship is 100 times more powerful than what we were looking at with those guns and amazing, right? 100 times. I said, you sure it's not maybe 90 times? 100 times more powerful. And we're building 10 of them. Not to use them. We don't want to use them, but by having them, nobody's going to play games.
You can't do the whole, hey, walk slothfully and carry a big stick thing. All you do is hit people with sticks. All right? That's not really your move anymore. You can't really fall back. Hey, we don't want to use them. You love using them. You definitely want to use them. It's fine. I mean, not fine, but like just stop saying otherwise. All right. There's so much to get to. But we don't have time. I have to get this up because it's a window. I mean, I should start recording these. Whatever. I mean, I don't mind doing it. I wouldn't mind doing another hour at this point. But we got to get it up so we can. Whatever. I mean, I'm trying to ride the algorithm. But thanks so much for sticking around. If you're still here, of course you're still here. This is great. This is great content. I'm confident. Thanks so much for supporting the show. If you like Kump, you want more Kump, there's the Patreon, patreon.com/RayKump. You get an extra episode every week. It's $5 a month. I think it's a pretty good deal. A lot of people think it's a good deal. If you're not, whatever. This is the soft sell. On the Patreon. Thanks so much. Have a great week.